like figure it out while you in art. Like, nah, you already had, supposed to have it figured out type shit.
So here comes the most important part of this whole thing, and this is kind of like my modus operandum, so to speak. And I feel comfortable sharing this with y'all because I feel as though my story could be used as a testimony to others. So I commissioned into the Army as a field artillery lieutenant. Not exactly the branch I would have chosen, but it chose me. I didn't choose it, but guess what? I went through it because guess what? It's my job.
Yeah.
Um,
What did you choose?
Wasn't field artillery. Field artillery is known for being a very hard branch. It was it's basically the science and mathematics and tactics of cannon fire, right? Sounds cool. Very difficult school.
That's what Don was doing.
Mm-hmm. I was field artillery. So, I went to field artillery school, which is in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Shout out to Lawton, Oklahoma. Met a lot of my best friends. I met my
Hey,
first.
that's what Don was up there too.
Mm-hmm. I was in Lawton, Oklahoma. Pro was in Marcus was in Fort Sill too. Fort Sill is it's a common place everybody goes to start their career off, either Fort Sill or Fort Knox.
Okay.
So, I go in very confident. And I didn't pass field artillery school. That's my first failure in life. I didn't. And luckily for me, I was a good lieutenant. I was seen by people as a pretty decent leader. I was somebody you can depend on. I was also somebody you could call somebody as a pretty efficient around the office.
Mm-hmm.
But I flunked out of field artillery school I never felt nothing else in my entire life.
But what do you mean by flunked out? Like, was it just?
I failed the final exam to get out, the safety exam.
Do you know by how much? Like, was it a lot? Was it just barely missing it?
I failed it. Don't matter. In the Army, it's fail.
So, but they still allowed you to be a field artillery?
Yeah. Well, they still let me be an officer. And the good news about it was, the sergeant major there had caught his eye. Something about me he just liked. And instead of putting me out, what they did was they made me they basically kept me there, and I became a PL, and I started working with young soldiers.
So, like, training them.
Yeah, not just training, but yeah, training and also working with basic training. I worked in shout out to Bravo Company.
Shout out Bravo Company.
Shout out to Bravo Company. And I worked in the basic training side. I also worked in the admin side. And that's where a lot of my stories come from. Working with young soldiers, working with young other officers, but also mainly working with young soldiers, and just kind of just so they can understand where I'm coming from. I'm in a situation because unfortunately I made a mistake, but guess what? The consolation prize was I got to still be a leader.
That's how I feel about coaching football. Like, I made a lot of the bad mistakes, didn't take things as serious as I should, but that gives me the opportunity to come back and coach and make sure y'all don't do the same exact things.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, my 4 years in the military, I ended up making first lieutenant still. Hey, I mean, I was still in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
And by the way, field artillery school is the hardest school in the military academically. It's the hardest school in the military because it's like really advanced math, and they don't care if you're not a math person or not.
Oh yeah, see, no, that's fucked up. And you got put into that position, like you didn't even want to be there in the first place.
Yeah, well, we ain't got wants. All we got is assignments. And my message to those who are watching is this: life's gonna punch you in the gut a lot. You're gonna be faced with stuff where, unfortunately, it's just you and your conscience. But I had faith that despite my circumstance, I could still be me, and I had faith that I still have my dignity and my respect. Despite the fact that I failed field artillery, I was still one of the most respected people around there. Not because people felt sorry for me, because I established respect to everybody around me.
But it is the respect of human to human means more than what paperwork is going.
Yeah.
Score amount. You know what I'm saying? So it shows you something bigger than that, because that's why the officers can be around, because it's like, all right, we see what type of person he is. Like, because at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, you have to have the smarts, you have to have the knowledge, but it's really like, who would I trust with my life? Who would I trust next to me? You know what I'm saying? You just know that off of a person's energy and everything, not off the assignments that they learn exactly, or not off exactly what they know or how they retain the information. So, you know what I'm saying? You still got something bigger than, you know what I'm saying, as much as a failure that was for you personally, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was a big accomplishment to just understand as a human, being
So fast
respected. You know what I'm saying?
later, process out the military. I get out. I got out as a first lieutenant. I wanted to go back to school because I wanted to make a point to not only myself but to my family that I understand that I made a mistake and I understand this is the end. I wanted to get my MBA, but I went to my advisor and I said, "What's the hardest thing y'all got?" And they said, "Well, we got supply chain, but we got it. The things about supply chain is we also have some STEM classes too." And I said, "Give it to me."
Damn. Take it. The hardest challenge. You want to be challenged.
Yeah, not just challenge. I want to make a point. I want to make a point, not to anyone else, but to myself. That what happened at Field Artillery isn't me. I'm not a failure. I'm never gonna aspire to be no failure. So I took the hardest major they had outside within the MBA program based on what people have been saying about like